spring called, so I'm knitting a poncho. Sorry for the cheesy hook, but I had to do it. Welcome back to Knit by Naya. My name is Naya, and in this video, I decided to take you along the process of knitting a spring poncho. I decided to knit the Jolie poncho, which is a design by Milote Patterns, or Milote by Vic. And I decided to knit this because I wanted a piece that I could wear for the warmer weather and also to layer with other pieces for those cool spring and summer nights. So I've been working on this project for exactly a month now. I believe I cast it on May 12th, and it is June 12th. So I have washed and blocked it in the perfect amount of time. This was not planned at all whatsoever, but it worked out pretty well considering that it's starting to heat up. So a month ago, I attended the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, which I did talk a little bit about in my last knitting podcast, but there I was kind of like shopping around and looking at all the different yarns from different vendors. It was sort of my first time navigating that whole environment. And I went in wanting to find yarn for this particular project. The Jolie poncho is a design that comes in 6 sizes from extra small to 2XL, and it's knit on 4mm needles with a gauge of 20 stitches per 10 centimeters. I'm knitting mine on a slightly smaller gauge, and that's because I was seeking a yarn that had fluff and like a drapey effect, but I wanted to achieve that by just holding one strand. So that's how I decided on a 100% alpaca yarn that I found at the Sheep and Wool Festival, and I decided to hold that single, as I mentioned before, and therefore I knitted on 3.75mm needles instead of 4mm. So the yarn that I purchased from the MD Sheep and Wool Fest was the Oh So Soft yarn from Deli's Delights Farm, which is a farm in Virginia. And I purchased it in the colorway Silver, and it's a sport weight yarn that calls for a size number 5, which is that 3.75mm needle. So I knit this off gauge, starting with an even smaller needle. The pattern says to start with a 3.5mm needle. So that's the needle that I started with. And then I sized up to a 3.75 instead of the 4. Hopefully you're following along with me and I'm not making it too complicated, but yes, that's what I did. And that's because my gauge was 22 stitches instead of the 20 stitches. I purchased 2 skeins, and that was more than enough yarn. This is still from the first skein. Actually, no, I lied. This is a tiny bit that I wound up from the second skein. So I did tap into the second skein, but I really only used a couple of yards from that one. Each has 650 yards, and I believe that's per 100 grams. In case you wanted a close-up of the yarn, this is what it looks like. Again, this is just the little bit that I ended up winding from that second skein, but I left the rest of it in skein form because I still want to decide what I'm going to do with the rest of it before I put it into a cake. In the next clip, you'll see me as I am starting from the collar and working my way through. If you are enjoying this video, don't forget to leave a like and also comment down below any projects and things like that that you're working on maybe while watching this video. So yeah, let's just dive right in. I decided to touch base because I plan on just pausing here to try it on. I'm gonna just stick this on a cord. Makes it so easy to just transfer your stitches. Oh, okay, everyone's out. Suddenly, 5 minutes ago, it was silent as soon as I pressed record. Anyways, I'm just stopping here because it looks pretty long already. I just want like a high neck, and I like in the photos of the designer sample how it like kind of just goes over her chin and it's like cute and cozy. So I'm gonna try this on. Also, will this fit over my head? Time will tell. Who knows, maybe I have to start over. Hopefully not. I am knitting this off gauge because I'm using smaller needles and a thinner yarn, and compared to the designer sample that's just a little bit thinner, it's gonna make some sound. Sorry, I'll take this off to save your ears, but it doesn't look too bad so far. This will obviously be in the back, but looks like I'm wearing a neck brace. I guess that's the vibe, no? So when I have the full thing, it'll be like outwards. And I do think I want this to be a little longer. Do I? Or is this long enough? I can't tell. Also, mine is a little bit tighter looking. Maybe I could have sized up a little bit more because I did use the stitch count for the size medium for the neck. My gauge is only 2 stitches off, so I figured I don't need to size up a crazy amount to like the extra large, for example. Maybe I overcorrected. I mean, it still fits and it gets over my head, but it is quite tight around the neck. I mean, not tight, but like fitted. And in the pattern, I feel like it's very loose. Maybe that'll block out and stretch over time because it is rib. Let me put my hair like into it and see what that looks like. Do you get the vibe? Like those cold days when you just want to... Well, actually, no, that doesn't make sense because this is a springtime knit. So just ignore me. But maybe when it's like a little bit chillier and you want to layer it, perhaps, this like serves as a neck warmer. And then the rest kind of flows out so you can fit other things underneath. But that's cute. I think I'm going to do a few more rows. So I will knit it to the full 15 centimeters. Looks pretty good. Yeah, I think I can do with those extra 2 or so centimeters. Okay. Check-in complete. Let's continue knitting. Hold on. Does this kind of double as a headband? Cute or no? Perhaps another project with different yarn. We shall see. Things are happening. Okay. Successfully untangled. Let's continue knitting. Okay, cool. I always see people putting their mics like on a fork or like a knitting needle. We have a 3mm crochet hook. The window's open, so please excuse the sound of cars driving by. Just needed some fresh air. Okay, so I'm checking in. I just finished the length of the collar. I don't know if I said this before, but it's knit in 2x2 rib if you haven't noticed already. I cast it on starting with the stitch count listed for size, the medium size. And what I'm planning to do is increase slightly more so that I end up with the stitch count for the size large. Next, I have to switch to a larger needle. So I'm going to switch to 3.75 instead of 4 like the pattern calls for. And I believe we're about to do a bunch of increases. After that increase round, we start working the textured lace pattern that's in the center. In case you wanted to see up close, it's like this diamond eyelet pattern with 2 longer stripes of eyelets down each side. And this pattern happens on the front center and also the back center. And then the rest is just stockinette, so yeah, I guess that was it. I thought there was going to be more to that, but nope, pretty simple. Let's get started. In case you were curious, I'm using the Chaogu shorties. I have a pair that are 3.5 millimeters and then another pair that's 3.75. It's called their Twist Lace Interchangeables. And I really like these because I just enjoy working with metal needles, but also these just are very durable, not too sharp. Tip is like slightly rounded, which is nice. And then I really like the cable part of it. Hello from another angle of my couch. A few hours later, I was counting my stitches and was just confused why I wasn't arriving at the correct stitch count. And that is because I casted on 7 less stitches than I needed to. I'm not sure why, but yeah, I have 93 stitches on the needle. I guess that explains why it's a little bit tighter. Although I think 7 stitches would only impact this by, actually no, a decent amount, an inch. My stitch gauge is 22 stitches per 4 inches divided by 4, 5.5 stitches per inch. There's about an inch missing from the circumference. So I have to start over, and I think it'll be worth it because I don't really want this to be as fitted as it is if that was not, the original intention of the designer. Also, it's just because I made a silly mistake, and this first step is pretty simple. I mean, you're just knitting in 2x2 for a while, so no biggie. I'm just gonna cut the yarn here and restart. I'm not gonna rip back. I'll just keep this here, and if I need extra yarn at the end, then I can unravel this. So now you guys actually get to see the cast on process, and you can hold me accountable and make sure that I actually count to 100 this time. Alongside this project, I've been working on a summer top. I'm making like a bright reddish pinky, a short sleeve top with little cutout detail, and it's coming out really nicely, but I haven't worked on it in a while. The last time I worked on it was like a week ago maybe, and even then I was only picking it up to knit like 1 row. So that's kind of just like a chill thing to work on in the background. But I took a break from knitting actually for a little while to focus on some other hobbies. I've been really into, well, I can't say into pottery because I haven't really gotten to explore yet, but I've been very intrigued by pottery and it's something that I want to get into. I started out by, sorry, I'm like counting and talking at the same time. I'm just gonna measure out what 10 stitches would be. So I'm just like wrapping this 10 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I'm put off measure that's about the length for 10 stitches. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then I take that and I double it. This is very approximate, it's not perfect. So about here, and I'm just gonna do my long tail cast on. But yeah, I took a break from knitting to try crafting with clay. And so I bought a little kit that included like a bunch of mini little packs of clay in different colors. I had lots of fun reorganizing that whole box so that it was like color coordinated. So yeah, I have that kit. I ordered a bunch of, I don't know what to call them. I guess they're like jewelry making accessories. Like the clips, they're like the lobster claw clips. And then hooks that you insert into the clay while it's still soft. And then you bake the hooks into the clay so that when it hardens and dries, you can make little keychains and stuff and hang them in different places. So I have a whole Pinterest board that's dedicated to a bunch of different crafts, but I have one specifically for pottery and or like clay trinkets and stuff. Maybe I can insert some pictures. I have a bunch of inspo for different clay miniatures, especially like food items, and I want to make a bunch so that I can just like have little trinkets around. I think making some keychains for like my keys could be fun, or like something to attach to my wallet. Oh, or bag charms would be cute, or for my violin case, like something to hang on the side. Yeah, those are a couple ideas. I also saw charms for the latch for like a door. What are those called? I don't know, just the chain attachment. But yeah, door latch charms are also really cute. And I've seen lots of inspiration pictures on Pinterest. So, and yeah, it's just nice to express myself in other ways through other mediums. I really enjoy painting. I actually have quite a few pieces hung up on my walls that I've created, which is really cool. And it's in no way perfect. Like, I don't strive for perfection, but I just like to, try different things, just let whatever's inside me flow, and it's good to have different outlets. Apologies if the framing changed. My phone ran out of storage again. Hopefully I ended on a good closing point, but since then I have casted on the correct amount of stitches. I made sure to count. I checked like 6 times. I actually casted on 4 extra. That way I don't have to cast on or increase as many times during that increased round. But I have calculated it to make sure that I am arriving at the correct stitch counts. I'm just going to take my time making sure that I don't mess anything up, make any careless mistakes. I'm just going to continue knitting along, and I will check back in once I have to do those increases again. Hope you're enjoying so far. I'm really trying to set the vibe right now. I've got my nice cozy pillow, got the moody lighting, I've got my candle over there. One of those wood wick candles, which are really nice for the ambiance. Like, the sound of it is comforting, and I also like the scent. Mine is blood orange and pomegranate. Also, while I'm here, I figured I'd show you some of those little clay miniatures that I tried making. The first thing I started with was this little bagel. So cute and tiny. I made this macaroon, or macaron if you want to be authentic. So adorable. This piece of bread, this baguette, cute. A croissant. Lots of French pastries we got going on. And then I tried some fruit. I made this raspberry, which is, oh my god, so adorable and so satisfying to make. Rolling out the tiny little beads of, I don't know, fruit. And then this strawberry, which is currently unfinished. I want to make the top for it, but I want to try to figure out if I can make my first keychain. So I might insert the hook into the top portion. I don't know if that's possible. It was really hard to insert it into this one because I don't own wire cutters, and so the hooks that I have come like at a pretty long length, so I would have had to trim them, and I couldn't do it with just like a normal pair of scissors. So I just decided to bake this one as is. I hope you can see. So cute, and I feel like they look really realistic for my first ones. And then last but not least, I made this palette. I wanted to make something that was like, I don't know, crafty looking. It looks handmade and I like that. I definitely could have made like the base of it thicker so that I had more to scoop out for these little thingies where you can mix paint, but I think the actual divots for the circular ones for the paint are decently sized. It's cute. It doesn't have to be the most practical. I haven't tried putting a paint in it yet. I think I might glaze it one more time. The thing is with that glaze, you kind of just let it air dry, so I don't know how it reacts to other substances like acrylic paint or water, but we'll see. If not, it's just something cute to look at. That is my little clay collection. Made all of it using a polymer clay and acrylic paint, and I think for some of them I used eyeshadow, like just this old eyeshadow palette that I had. Really random, really fun, just for the sake of it, you know. But anyways, I'm gonna continue knitting, and I will check back in with you later. Hello, I'm coming back to you with an update. I have finished knitting the collar to the length that I need it to be, and I've gone ahead and done my increase round. Also, the reason why I'm knitting a size large is not only because of my slight difference in gauge, but also I want to ensure that I don't get any bunching in this top portion, because I've noticed in some pictures, I guess there's not enough increases going on between the end of the collar and then this region where your shoulders just come out of nowhere. So knitting a slightly larger size can allow me to incorporate more increases so that I can accommodate for the big difference in circumference between my neck and shoulders. That's just a precaution. And also, I do prefer things to fit me slightly oversized. Now, I've gotten to the point where I can start knitting according to the texture pattern on the chart. On either side of that pattern, you're increasing so that as you go down, it, expands outwards. Yeah, you just kind of knit stockinette, then you knit that chart pattern, more stockinette, chart again, more stockinette. And that's one round. You kind of just repeat that until you've arrived at the stitch counts that they list. And also, I wonder if there's a length. Yes, 42 centimeters measured from the transition to stockinette stitch. And then you work some decreases at the bottom, and then you do like a little edge in garter stitch. And then there's finishings, and that's mostly it. And the fringe, which I'm fairly sure that I'm gonna do, because I do like the look of that. But for now, I'm starting the first row of that chart, and it looks fairly simple. It's just a bunch of knit and purls. You're increasing and decreasing depending on where you're placing those yarn overs for the eyelets, and it's really pretty. It's like a diamond shape created with the eyelets, and then those two columns of eyelet stitches on either side. Okay, it is currently 8:30 p.m. So I've been knitting for a few hours. I have done one complete repeat of the chart. So I've got one diamond that's visible, and I have a lot of stitches on my needles right now, so I was thinking, let me switch to a longer cable. I got my needles ready, and then I was like, wait a second, why are my 3.75 millimeter needles sitting on my little wooden tray right here? And then I checked the ones that I'm working with, and I realized I forgot to switch to the larger needle after finishing the ribbing, which is just, of course, of course I did that, because I always do that. I always forget to switch my needle size because I just get so excited by the next step. Yeah, I mean, I think the sizes are so close together that it won't make a huge impact on the way that the tension looks, but I'm just gonna go ahead and switch now. Just gonna transfer my stitches and then continue. I think I got 3 rounds into the second repeat of the chart before I realized. Yeah, so let me put some rubber stoppers on here. I have this little basket that I keep next to me, and it's nice because I can have like my current or active whips right next to me with all of my notions that I frequently use. Otherwise, I have everything crowded, like all on my desk over there or on the couch, and it's just like, I don't know, things get in the way. I don't know if you can see the pattern yet, the stitch pattern, but one thing I do notice is that my left-leaning increases or decreases are looking a little bit messy compared to the right-leaning ones, but I think that's just the nature of left-leaning decreases. This pattern has you do slip one knitwise, knit one, pass the slipped stitch over the knit stitch, which I feel like results in a neater decrease versus or compared to the slip knit. Either way, I find that my left leaning decreases are just never as nice and defined as a knit two together. Yeah, otherwise it's going pretty well. It's pretty smooth. It's easy to remember the repeat pattern, and right now I'm just having to refer to the chart for each round of eyelets, but besides that, it's very, very nice, and I love this yarn. It glides nicely over my needles. It's very soft, and I really like the color too. I think it'll be a nice, I guess it's a neutral, right? Gray is a neutral. Hello, just had to play. It's called like a jury where I play in front of a panel of people, play violin. And that concludes my master's degree, minus like one small thing I have to do tomorrow. But besides that, I've submitted everything I needed to. So yeah, my graduation is next Wednesday. By the way, it's May 13th. I don't think I've been updating the date, but yeah, just so you know. So yeah, I finished that exam, hence the slick back bun. Also, life without braids. Like, I don't know what to do with my hair. It's like in an awkward stage. Anyways, enough yapping. I've completed about 4 pattern repeats. Hold on, let me show you. So yeah, those are looking pretty good. I haven't run into any issues so far. There have been some rows where I forget to increase, but then I realize and I fix it on the following row. I also tried it on after 3 of those repeats, so I will insert a picture of what that looks like. And it's not like the full yoke. I definitely haven't gotten enough depth yet to see how it fits completely around my shoulders, but I think we're headed in the right direction. I did notice that it wants to like bunch up, which is kind of what I was avoiding, but more so for the yoke section. I didn't anticipate it happening with, that rib section, but what can you do? I might just stretch it a little with blocking so that it stays at least in that position. But besides that, it seems like it's going pretty well. I'm just gonna keep on knitting on. Is that what you say? Keep on keeping on? Yeah, keep on knitting on. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm really tired. I'm also like coming down from intense adrenaline. And also I'm just feeling so many emotions, like happy, sad. I'm excited, but also it's sort of bittersweet. I'm like saying goodbye to the academic chapter of my life because I have been in school like year after year after year since I've been in school as a child. It's gonna be interesting transitioning into real life, the real world. But for now, I'm gonna relax, maybe get something nice and warm to drink, like a cup of tea or something. And I ordered food, so I'm gonna indulge in that and some knitting. Hello. So if you're seeing this and wondering why the quality has changed, hopefully it's better. It's because I got a new camera, so that's exciting. I'm still getting the hang of things, but hopefully the visual and audio quality is better. I'm not currently using a mic, so we'll see how this clip turns out, and hopefully there's no background noise, but yeah. So it's been quite a few days, almost a week and a half now since I've recorded my last clip. I have since graduated, so I have my master's in music, in violin performance and pedagogy, which is really exciting. And now I've been cast out into the real world, so that is a transition that I've been working through. But anyways, to focus on the knitting, I have an update to show you on my poncho. So I have worked on this on and off for the past few days. I believe I've done 8 pattern repeats, and I thought, oh, I can stop here and try it on and see where we're at, because I think I only need 9 because that's what the pattern calls for. However, I realized that my row gauge is significantly shorter and smaller in length, so I'm gonna need to knit, I think, at least 3 more inches. So that's like 3 or like 2.5. I'll probably do 3 just to be safe, more repeats. I was thinking, oh, I could just stop here and block it and extend the length, but if I were to pull the garment down, it would decrease in width, and I don't want to mess with that, so I'm just gonna knit it longer. I need to just not be lazy and just knit it to the full length that's required for my gauge. Once I do that, I need to try it on again to see where it hits my arm, because at first I was measuring the actual length from the center. So for example, this lace in the center reaches the lowest point, right? But the actual arm portions of the poncho, they're hitting above my elbow at this point. So I was going based on the length of the stockinette in the center and comparing that to the measurements given in the pattern, which I think is what you're supposed to do, but because my row gauge is off, I can't really depend on those measurements. So I'm just gonna knit until I feel like it covers a decent portion of my arms. Right now it's hitting here, and I think it should come, again, at least 3 to 4 inches below the elbow. And then when I look at the pattern pictures, it comes down to her forearm, and then when she has her arms up, it comes up a bit higher, like above the elbow. But if I were to leave mine at the length that it is now, it would be like a crop top. So not exactly what we're going for here. I want to be able to like layer things underneath it. So yeah, that means that this video is going to take a little bit longer to record. I was hoping to finish by today, actually. Today's Monday, the 25th, but I think I'm gonna need to give myself like another solid week and a half or 2 of knitting, because I just casted on another project and I just unraveled something, and I kind of just go with the flow when I cast on whenever I like. So I do want to finish this. I do need to prioritize finishing this before I cast on something else, but I am also working on 2 other summer projects, so need to do some prioritizing in terms of my whips right now, but this is coming together regardless. Once I finish the pattern repeats, I do a couple rows of garter stitch, which I believe she adds just to stabilize the edge and add that, what is it called? Structure. Oh my god, I couldn't think of the word. But it just adds more structure to that edge before you're adding the fringe. And I think that's all in terms of finishings. So we'll see how long this takes. Fingers crossed that it's within the next 2 weeks. That is my update. I'm very excited. And hopefully there will still be some cooler days to wear this. Or I guess like cool nights on summer days. But that's all. That's all I have for now. So I'll update you once I've finished that extra length. So try on and check in. It's 11:30 p.m. on May 31st. Just finished the 9th pattern repeat, and I wanted to try it on to see if I could get away with leaving it here and just blocking it out. Plus the fringe will be added. And then even before that, there's like 4 rounds of garter stitch. So let's measure and see. I'm like really tired and I don't feel like having to knit another repeat because the rows are just getting longer and longer and longer. But let's measure. Okay, so the pattern says that the stockinette starting at the neckline should measure 42 centimeters. So let's see. I measured it to be about 39 centimeters. So that means that I'm about an inch off from where I need to be, which means I should probably just knit one more repeat. Because like I'm like moving around and you can see it's above my elbows, which is not ideal. Of course, it'll be more relaxed when it doesn't have this like rubber cord kind of keeping it bunched up, but I just have to accept fate. It's looking good so far. It's really cute. And I folded down the collar, which I actually like the way it looks better than I expected. So I'm gonna have to knit another repeat so I can get it to 42 centimeters at least. And then I can finally do the finishings. So check-in complete. Good morning. It's the next morning. Feeling very well rested. So I have more time and patience to deal with this. Not that it needs to be dealt with, but anyways, I woke up and thought, okay, maybe I should block this just to see how it will relax and see if it lengthens a bit and how much it will lengthen. But I'm not going to do a full wet block. I'm just going to do a steam block. So I'm going to put this onto a hanger and then steam block it while it's like hanging up, probably on my mirror or like on the door. I don't know. But we're going to just set this up like that. Okay. There we go. Now I'm going to hang this on my mirror. Just like that. And then, okay, my steamer needs more water. So BRB. Let's give it a minute to heat up again. In the meantime, I honestly have not been knitting that frequently this week. I think I've picked up my project like once, maybe like once a day. But like I'll knit like half a row or like one row and then call it a night because they're just getting really long. If I can just steam block this, see what the length is looking like, remeasure, see if I need to keep going, then I'll just tough it out and knit that last repeat. Each one's like 12 rows or 12 rounds. But once I just evaluate and see where we're at, I think I'll get the motivation to like take this to the finish line, you know? So I feel like my steamer is ready. So let's just go for it. I'm just gonna stretch the neck upwards and my hanger kind of pokes through, so I'm just gonna stretch the fabric outward at that point so it doesn't leave like an indentation. Try not to burn myself too. Okay, it's actually stretching out a lot. So I feel like this may work in my favor. Okay, let's do the back. And I'm just gonna have to fix these after. I'll probably put it on a blocking mat and then just hit it with the steamer again, but with pins in place just to make sure that there's no indentation there. Should we do a try on? Let's do it. This is what it looks like on. So cute. It does come past my elbow now, which is good. And it is rolled a little bit, but once I get it off of this cord, it should look normal. But I think the length is okay. I don't know. What do we think? Wish I could get some feedback in real time. And then the center of it like goes past my belly button. So that's why I'm like a little bit unsure because of my row gauge difference. It is shorter than the pattern calls for. I think when I measured it last night, it was 39 centimeters instead of 42. But it's like, ooh, that 1 inch. Like, does that 1 inch really make the biggest difference? Especially since this is alpaca, it'll stretch more. And I chose this yarn for that reason because it's, more drapey and airy and flowy and will stretch over time. I'm going to leave it like this for a little bit and think about it. And the next clip will be me either doing the finishings or showing like the finished product because this video has gone on for far too long. But we're getting an idea of what the final look will be. So, anyways, that's it. See ya. Guys, it's finally happening. I'm finally about to bind off. I just did the 4 rounds of garter stitch and now I'm switching to a larger needle to bind off since the pattern indicates that you should bind off loosely. I can't find my 4s right now, so I just switched to 4.5s. After I bind off, I'm going to wet block this. After I do that, it's time to let it dry and then add the fringe. So this should be done within the next, let's say, like 2 days. I'm so excited. I can't wait to finish this. I feel like I've been putting in the work these last couple of days and it's finally paying off. So don't mind me. I'm gonna bind off and then come back when I finished so that you can see me wet block it. guys, I finished the poncho. It's done. Now, as you can see, I decided not to do the fringe, and that's because I feel like I knit it to a long enough length where it drapes over my arms nicely. I tried it on with a pair of jeans after blocking it, and I'm really just liking how it is with just the garter stitch edge and nothing else. I think I like the way that looks. And I think if I added any fringe at this point, it would be a little bit, I kind of want it to be like a little bit more subdued and subtle. So yeah, decided not to go with the fringe, but I love it anyways. It is still a little bit damp, but this yarn dries pretty fast. When I blocked my swatch, it dried overnight. So it's like 90% dry, but I got really excited, so I tried it on, and I want to show you guys what it looks like on. So let's see right now. So I ended up doing 10 pattern repeats in total. So one extra than what the pattern calls for. I initially thought I was going to add the fringe, which is why I did less rounds, which is what the pattern indicates. But I think it still looks pretty good. Like, I don't think it's missing anything from those two rows, that extra ridge of garter. But yeah, this is what it looks like. I love it. I love it a lot. And these are like my lowest low-rise jeans, and I like that they fully cover my belly button and it like goes past that point. So it's got some nice coverage. It goes past my elbow, which is what I wanted. And of course, I have the room to lift my arms, and it still kind of shows my stomach, but not nearly as much as it would have if I stopped like 2 repeats ago. So I'm very glad that I continued knitting, and I'm happy with the final result. And hopefully you think it looks good as well. I have just a plain t-shirt underneath, and I also tried it on with a tank top, which also looks cute. But I do prefer something that covers the chest, just because you can see like the difference in color. If I were to wear like a black tank top, you can see my skin peeks through, and then you see the black tank top. But if I wore like maybe something closer to my skin tone, that would look better. I mean, it's a very small detail. It's really not that serious. But yeah, I'm so happy with how it looks. Yay. With that being said, hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. If you are inspired to knit this pattern, I highly recommend it. The instructions were very straightforward, very clear, very nicely written, very clearly laid out. So highly recommend. I will definitely be knitting more of her patterns. She just dropped a bunch of spring and summer patterns, or maybe just summer. It's like a summer collection, and there's a lot of really cute pieces with some nice lace details and things of that nature. So definitely check her out. But yeah, leave a comment down below with your thoughts on this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. I hope you enjoyed, and tune in for my next video.